What is up, ladies and gentlemen? An early morning edition of the Ultimate Cavaliers Show. Cavs and Coffee is the appropriate name for this one after the wild finish we witnessed in Miami last night. Simply a loss that you chalk up to just some unfortunate circumstances late, some terrible miscommunication by the Cavaliers defense. Give Miami some credit for putting together a play in the final half second that completely worked to perfection, got the Cavs off their marks. Darius got hurt. We got an interview with Cleveland Charge head coach Eli Kell-Abrams coming up in just a few minutes. Before we dive into that, a quick reminder that, guys, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It is a sportsbook you should be using if you want to place a bet on any kind of NBA wager. They have player props, over-unders, team totals. You can think of it. FanDuel has it. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in on the action today, and make sure you use that code FanDuel.com/UCSS so they know we sent you guys. All right, let's dive into what we witnessed last night against Miami. It was a back-and-forth affair. The Cavaliers needed a furious fourth-quarter comeback to send the game into overtime. In overtime, it looked like Davion Mitchell was going to hit the game-winning dagger, a broken play corner three that he chucks up, buries to go up by, or to tie the game at that point. Would have sent it to a second overtime. And then this happened. And I'm going to show you guys the play. We're going to break it down in a second. We'll talk about Darius's injury. But then this happened. And this is hard to digest if you missed it. This is the game-winning play, tied at 138, 0.4 left, and they get a wide-open alley-oop to Andrew Wiggins. So let's see a little frame-by-frame here where it's going to start, because this is just some pretty bad miscommunication here by the Cavaliers. I wish I could draw on the screen for you guys, but you can see Dean Wade is following a shooter to the opposite corner. You have Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter both face guarding their men, Andrew Wiggins, and I believe that's Davion Mitchell. And then you have someone underneath the basket who's going to come up into the back screen. With 0.4 seconds on the clock, they cannot take a jump shot. It's not enough time to catch and shoot. It's going to be something at the rim. You can't leave the basket unprotected. I'm going to let this play through before we break it down frame by frame. But you can't leave the basket unprotected, and that happens. It's about as unprotected as a basket can get when you know there's 0.4 seconds left on the clock. It is impossible to assign all the blame on this to one particular person. It's not one person's fault. It is not. It is not one person's fault. This is a team miscommunication error. It's partially on coaching for not having the proper awareness of the time, the situation, what Miami wants to look for. Give Spo and his staff credit for drawing up a perfectly designed out-of-bounds play, an side out-of-bounds play, whatever you want to call it. SLOB is the official coaching terminology. But this is a thing of beauty. They have the shooter underneath sprint through this elevator screen. Then they're going to have a back screen set by Davion Mitchell on DeAndre Hunter for Andrew Wiggins, who's going to come back for that little alley-oop action. You have Nikola Jovic, who's 6'10" as an inbounder. Then you have Mitchell, who's going to flash the ball trying to get a jump shot. The miscommunication happens here primarily between Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter. You cannot leave either of these guys wide-ass open, which is exactly what happens on this play. You're going to see as Davion Mitchell sets the back screen on DeAndre Hunter, Sam Merrill is going to kind of flash towards the ball to make sure the screener does not end up turning into a catch-and-shoot situation here for a quick flip-up. Instead, the screen catches Hunter. Wiggins gets a free release. And that's about as easy of a last-second shot as you can possibly get. You see Merrill goes under the screen there, and I'm going to go back and pause it once again. But look where Merrill is right here. Merrill's looking for Davion Mitchell coming off this screen and then come to the catch. But the screen was laid out perfectly. He made contact on DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre could not get over that. And this is a wide open, like, it's crazy to say it's a wide open alley-oop to win the game, but it's a wide open alley-oop to win the game. They show it from the back angle here in a second. It's not the greatest fast forwarding tool here on StreamYard, but you can see from this angle. You're going to see initially he comes through on the elevator. That's Norman Powell. Then Davion Mitchell is going to screen DeAndre Hunter there. Sam Merrill and DeAndre Hunter have to speak here. They cannot let it be a free release to the rim. Wherever the communications gets confused, Hunter tries to go over. Merrill then tries to slide under to stop Mitchell. But because the screen is set, because he makes contact, because it's a damn good screen, Wiggins has 2, 3, 4 steps. And by the time, look at that. He's turned the corner. Hunter kind of gets knocked off his spot. Doesn't get more open than that for the game-winning alley-oop. And as you can see there, he gets it off with about 0.1 left. But that's a perfectly drawn-up out-of-bounds play. It's bad miscommunication by the Cavaliers on defense. It's not just on Sam. It's not just on DeAndre. You have to kind of figure out these things on the fly, and you can't have two guys stay with the screener and leave the roller bare ass open. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to win you many games in the NBA if that's the kind of communication you're going to have late in a game. The good news is if this is going to happen, it's a great learning lesson. It's a great tool. They're 11 games into the season. They're 7-4. It's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And you'd much rather have these miscommunications happen now in a game that Kenny Atkinson got ejected from than you would later in a playoff scenario if the same situation arises, but just simply bad defensive miscommunication that allows Andrew Wiggins to get that wide open layup, wide open dunk, and eventually win the game. That is not my big takeaway from last night. It obviously sucks the Cavs lost the game. Don't get me wrong. You came back. You have that shot from Donovan. You think you're in a good position to steal one in South Beach. And then that happens. But the real news, the real concerning news coming out of this situation is what happened to Darius Garland. Darius was playing his third game back since that broken toe injury that required surgery over the summer. We all know what happened in the playoffs. With that toe injury, it severely hindered his ability to get past people. It made him even more of a defensive liability. And frankly, it was the reason a lot of Cavs fans wanted to trade Darius Garland this offseason. That poor playoff performance led and was correlated directly to the toe injury, and a lot of fans said, we've seen enough. So Darius comes back last Wednesday against Philadelphia. Looks very, very good. I mean, it wasn't a great offensive performance, but looked like Darius Garland. Then he played on Friday against Washington. Another solid performance. Didn't play in the second game of the back-to-back against Chicago. Came back, and in the first half came up and looked to tweak that toe a little bit. And immediately you're thinking, it is November. Darius, take your time. None of this matters. It is all about having you healthy and ready for the playoffs. But according to Kenny Atkinson in his post-game press conference, Darius fought through it, got cleared by the medical staff in the halftime locker room. And Kenny said if the medical team says you're good and you want to play, then you should go out there and play. And then in the second half, you could see Darius on a drive. He gets bumped, falls to the ground, slams the floor with his fist in frustration, and never came back in. He's getting x-rays today. We're going to figure out if he suffered another setback on that left toe, if he re-aggravated the injury, if he did something else that caused him to incur a new injury to that left toe. But the reality is it's not good. No, Darius Garland is a major loss for the Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers, to win a championship, need their all-star point guard. Just look how much better their offense had looked in the 3 games he'd played since he'd returned. It was a night and day difference from the early version of this Cavaliers offense that was relying so heavily on the three-point shot that it was barely reminiscent of the historically good offense we saw for 82 regular season games last year. If it was up to me, and hindsight is 2020. Hindsight's 2020. It's so easy to look at this back and say, that was the right decision, that was the wrong decision. Who knows? Who cares? But if Darius tweaked his toe in the first half, I understand that he wants to play. I understand that the training staff may say he's capable of playing. I just personally, this is the Mike Lucas, the McNuggets talking to you here. I just personally would take the cautious approach. There's no need for Darius to be playing in a game like that in November on a Monday night when you got Miami again on Wednesday. I understand he's trying to work his way back into it, but I just would take the super overly abundant, cautious approach to a player like Darius, who is so important to the overall future of this Cavaliers team. We'll find out. He's getting x-rays today. We'll see if the toe injury he sustained is serious, if it's just a minor thing that he's going to have to take a week off for, or worst case scenario, and hopefully this is not the case, but hopefully he didn't break his toe, because that would be a major setback to the Cavaliers' overall plans. But we'll talk more about the Cavs' loss to Miami last night on UCSS coming up in 3 hours. But I have a very special guest waiting in the wings who is going to join us here after a very quick word from a new sponsor to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and that is the Home Builders Association. Gift big this year with the Home for the Holidays raffle. You have a chance to win a beautiful new custom home or a cash prize this holiday season, and to help make wishes come true for the Make-A-Wish Kids with Critical Illness Foundation. Raffle proceeds benefit Make-A-Wish OKI, which has granted over 22,000 wishes to children facing critical illnesses across Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Since 1983, this year's house is a custom-built ranch by Petros Homes with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a 3-car garage. It also includes amazing features like a great room with vaulted ceilings that extend to the outdoors, an unbelievable kitchen with beautiful finishes, and a large hidden pantry, a mudroom with open lockers, a unique pet shower, and one lucky winner will be announced on Christmas Eve. So get your $100 tickets now. Just visit ahomefortheholidays.org to buy your tickets. That's ahomefortheholidays.org. Terms and conditions do apply. And with that, bring in my guy here. It's Eli Kell-Abrams, the head coach of the Cleveland Charge. Eli, been a long time coming. We've been trying to get you on the show since you took the job. We are thrilled to have you here this morning. And that background's immaculate. You are definitely not outside right now.
Not bad. No, definitely not outside, but super happy to join the show and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I want to ask real quick before we dive into some of the Charge-specific things. Did you see the final play last night in the Cavs Heat game? I know you're busy working on the Detroit prep for tomorrow, but did you happen to see that final play?
I did see the final play. Definitely tough. Obviously, I've spent time with Coach Spo, and I'm definitely here now. But it was a tough way to go down, especially after an incredible shot by Don. But I know our group, and we're resilient. We'll bounce back.
Let's talk about the Charge here. Eli, you guys had your first two games this weekend in Iowa. Obviously not the result you guys wanted. You took 2 losses, but with the G League, especially early in the season, is it more about kind of the process of getting guys ready and figuring out who your team is, what they can and can't do, as opposed to, really fine-combing the wins and losses of the early regular season?
Yeah, no, I think to me, in the first couple of games, you want to play to your identity. Right. Obviously, the wins and losses, it's a competitive sport, it's a combat sport, and you want to win. But to me, if your identity shines through what you've been emphasizing in training camp, if your guys stay together, if you're playing the right way, to me, that's a lot more important. And then you trust that the wins will come with that. But a lot of good from this weekend. The ball's flying around. We're playing great. The spirit's really there. And that's tough. You lead for 30 minutes in game 1, and the second game we came out a little flat, and that's 100% on me. But then you win the last 3 quarters, you make a huge run at the end of the game, and it just shows that our spirit's in the right place, and we've got no quit in us.
You've been in the video room across multiple NBA franchises for the last decade, including Miami, Philly, Portland. This is your first chance to be the head coach of a team here. You mentioned right there that you put it on yourself for coming out a little flat. Is this a learning experience for yourself in terms of how to get a team ready to play, considering this is such a new position from where you've been in the past?
No, absolutely. I think that when I first got this job, obviously mentors of mine in the business, Steve Hetzel, Brian Adams, guys that have been former G League head coaches have always told me you're going to learn about your group every day. You're going to learn about yourself every day. You're going to learn about your staff every day. And so it's been really cool to learn and, just kind of take it as you go and just try and continue to build and be my best for the guys.
You guys have Detroit on Wednesday, another road trip. I think you guys bus up there. Then you're back on Friday and Saturday for your first homestand. Let's look at Detroit real quick, Coach. This can be a simple question, but maybe a little more complex. When you scout a G League team, do you fully know the players they're going to have? Or is it sometimes when you show up, they may have a two-way guy you didn't expect, and then that scraps the whole gameplay? Like, how does that part of it work?
Yeah, I think you prep enough to move the big rocks, and then you kind of, you'll monitor if they send down assignment guys or, two-way activity or things like that. But I think you move the big rocks and you understand kind of generally how they're going to play. But I think at the most part, like with all of the constant motion of the G League, you got to focus on you and you got to focus on your team, and how to be the best for your guys. Because to be real, it's not really about who we play, it's how we play. And I think that shines through. So we emphasize us.
What is the identity of the Cleveland Charge? What would you like? I guess it's too early to say you have an identity, but what would you like the identity be for the Cleveland Charge on both ends of the court?
Yeah, I actually think, again, regardless of the 0-2 record, I think we played to our identity. And we are a scrappy defensive team that plays together. That's in our gaps, and we're all over the ball. Obviously, we need to rebound a little bit better, but once we do, it kind of turns us into this fast-paced offensive team that's going to fly the ball up the floor and move the ball. And when the shot goes up, we're coming after you. So, I think that's the identity that we've been great with all camp. We were great within the 2 games. Just a little bit of shoring up, being a little more solid, and taking care of the defensive glass. And I think we're going to start getting the results we want.
This is the Ultimate Cavs show, Coach Eli. We'll eventually have an Ultimate Charge show, but for right now, it is the Cavs. You guys got a couple two-way guys that are going back and forth between the Charge and the Cavs, Travers, Tomlin, and Chris Livingston, who was just recently signed. What can you tell the people out there watching right now about those two? I know Chris is new to the fold, so maybe not as familiar with him. But what about Travers and Tomlin has kind of impressed you thus far?
No, I mean, honestly, I can tell you about all three. We can actually start with Chris just because we've had him in these 2 games. And Chris is an incredible competitor, has great size, great driving ability. And I think he's been incredibly coachable. I know he's coming from a new system with Milwaukee, but he's been an awesome addition. 8 assists, I think either 1 or no turnovers in the first half of the other game. And, definitely came down playing with the right intention. And we're very, very happy to have him. Luke and Quan, just incredible spirit, high-level competitors. Quan especially has this knack to him where he just wants a piece of somebody, and his spirit really carries the group. And Luke, with his size and his playmaking ability, I think when we do have these guys, it's going to be an incredible addition. And at some point we'll be really excited to have them. But honestly, we're about development here, so them getting an opportunity with the Cavs is all we ever want for our 2 ways.
How do you balance that, Coach? Preparing these guys for the next level and for when they get a chance with the pro team versus doing what may be in the best interest for the Charge to win a specific night?
Yeah, I think it starts with intent. And our intent is to prepare them for what they're going to see. We have to prepare them for what they're going to see at both levels, but we need to prepare them to be successful with the Cavs, right? So that's about, even though, there are probably times where Luke, Quan, and Chris can go one-on-one and go get a bucket. Like the Cavs have those guys, right? So it's about them understanding, what's going to get you to be successful at the highest level, and where they want to be. So I think that starts with intent, starts with film, and just starts with, just rinse and repeat and just making sure we emphasize those things every day.
Let's look ahead to Friday. Listen, don't overlook Detroit. I can overlook Detroit because I don't have to coach a game tomorrow night. Coach, you have to focus on that, but let's focus on the home opener Friday and Saturday. You guys are welcoming the Wisconsin Herd to town. I will be there Friday, so if anyone's watching this and wants to come say hi, I will be in attendance for the Charge home opener. Eli, this is your first chance to coach in front of a favorable crowd. And I think in the new public auditorium, the public hall that they have set up for you guys, the court looks incredible. It is, in my opinion, the coolest venue of any G League team to play in.
Absolutely.
What are you kind of hoping for in that first debut with your new team that you can call your own team in front of a Cleveland crowd? And I know you're new here, but you got to trust me on this one. Cleveland loves its basketball, man. They do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, we found that out at the Charge Fest, and just hundreds. A couple thousand fans coming in and just showing love and showing the energy of the city. We were able to see the building for the first time, and we had our scrimmage, and it, like any G League arena I've seen, it's top notch. And the city of Cleveland seems like behind us, and we're really excited to put our brand of basketball on display for an awesome home crowd and kind of get this thing going. Yeah,
like I said, I'll be out there. I know some other UCSS folks are going to be out there. I'm trying to assemble a squad to make sure you feel welcome to the city, Coach, because anytime someone new comes to Cleveland, and I'm not a Clevelander, you guys know I moved here in 2022. It's a city that embraced me with open arms, and Coach, I'm hoping it does the same to you. We've seen some former Charge coaches go on to have some tremendous success in other positions, and hopefully you are the next of many. But I have one more thing I want to do with you, Coach, here before we let you go and get prepared for Detroit. But I think this is going to be a quasi-regular thing we do where you come on and we talk some hoops. I know you played in college, and now you're coaching, so you obviously know what you're talking about. So we're going to try to make the viewers a little smarter. So we talked last night on something we're going to teach the fans every time you come on. We're going to give them one basketball concept, one basketball phrase that they can take away from this. And when they're at the water cooler at work, when they're talking to their friends, when they're talking to their group chats, they can drop this to make them feel even smarter. So today, we decided we're going to talk about shot profile. Now, I use the word shot diet. That's my personal term for it, Coach. You want to go with shot profile. Let's tell the people exactly what a shot profile is and why the same shot for me may be a good shot, but for you, we don't want you taking it.
Yeah, I think it kind of plays into what we were talking about with the 2 ways, right? So, to get the guy, our job is to develop guys to, help the Cavs. And so for us, it's recognizing, okay, what shots are going to make Don, Darius, Ev, J.A., what shots are going to make those guys better? And for me, like you have to be able to capitalize at the rim, and you got to be able to shoot open threes, right? So when we talk about our shot profile, we want about as healthy a diet as we can of rim and three-point attempts. And I think right now we're first in the G League in threes made. I think our rim and three rate is hovering right in between 75 and 80%, which is about 15% above the league average, which is exactly where we want it. On top of that, we put a big emphasis on like assisted field goals and potential assists. So for those that don't know, a potential assist, if I drive in the paint, I draw two guys, I kick it out and make the right basketball play, and that leads to a catch and shoot three, make or miss, that still generates a potential assist. And I think that goes back to our process and just believing if we can, put two on the ball and make the right decision, more times than not, it's gonna work out well for us. So again, our shot profile as best we can, they're going to be shots that are going to help the Cavs and help our guys when they get to that level. But it's the right discrepancy between rim and three attempts versus, late clock, every now and then you got to try and go get one. But we, as a group, we try and, play right, move the ball, and take the shots we want to take.
How difficult is it to get a player to understand sometimes what is the proper shot profile he should have versus not? Because a lot of these guys in college are the top scorer on their team. Throughout high school, they've been the best player. But then they get to the G League, to the NBA, and they have to take on a different role. So, I know it's early in your coaching career, but has that been anything you've struggled with or had any issues with thus far?
Not personally. I've seen it other places, but we're lucky enough to have an incredible group of guys that want to be coached and want to make it to the next level. And I think, the guys that sometimes are resistant to that, delay themselves a little bit from getting to the next level. So I think, to me, it's about clear and concise communication with the guys and making sure, like, hey, you're here. You want to be here. This is what'll help you. And I think the more clarity, the more you can, nip it in the bud early. While also giving them creative freedom to find their own solutions. I think that is kind of the journey as you go from one place where you are right now to where you want to be, ideally where we can get you.
Two more and we'll get you out of here, Coach. We really appreciate you taking some time this morning to join the Ultimate Cavaliers.
Whatever you got.
In terms of the process of getting people to understand what is a good shot versus what's a bad shot, especially in a G League environment where, you look at the scores on any given night, and it's 138 to 120. Like, they're high-scoring games.
Yeah.
How much of that is creative freedom and letting a player kind of figure it out on his own what he can and can't do at that level versus putting them in the coaching constraints of we want to run this set, we want to run this exact offense? Does that make sense what I'm asking? Like, yeah, there's got to be a happy medium and a balance between letting guys kind of figure it out on their own, but also you got to know when to pull the reins in.
Yeah, absolutely. And me as a coach, it's funny, the coaches that I played for, I always felt better when I was given more just kind of guidance and less like strict do this, you know what I mean? So to me, it's about putting our guys in the right situation and letting them figure it out on their own. Because if you take a player and you tell them, okay, do this at this time, there's a robotic aspect to it, and they're less likely to find their own solutions, in the chaos, right? And so if we can, not only teach our guys to make the right decision in the chaos, but, play for each other in the chaos, to me, that's much more important than sitting out, making a call, hey, everybody look at me, I'm the coach, we're going to run this. No, it's not about that. It's about our guys and, finding their own solutions out there, because anything that they can draw up, they can communicate with each other and find their own solutions out there, it's going to be much more powerful than what I have.
And also the days of calling a play from the sideline, walking the ball up, running through the play, and it's ancient basketball. Shout out to the old coaches out there who have gotten us to where we're at now, but that just doesn't necessarily work in today's day and age. All right, Coach, let's get you out of here on this Friday home opener, 7 p.m. You can get tickets online. Just search Cleveland Charge. Like I said, I'll be out there. Come say hi. Come hang out with us. We are thrilled to be out there for the home opener. We don't know if you have the two-way guys yet, Coach, but guys like Norchad and D. Brown and Cheney and all these other guys, just give the people out there a little scouting report on some of the guys they will see for sure come Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to give the opponents too much, but we got an
incredibly scrappy
group that has no quitting them. guys that play for each other, that play the right way. And, you're going to see an exciting brand of basketball on Friday and, ideally through the rest of the season. Our guys are giving us everything they got right now, and we're pointing in the right direction. So regardless of the record, we're going to get that right. But very, very excited about the group and very fortunate to have an incredible group to coach as a first-time head coach.
Awesome. That is Eli Kell-Abrams, the new head coach of the Cleveland Charge. They are taking on Detroit on Wednesday, and they are back at Public Arena. Is it Public Auditorium or Public Hall? I've said it's 7.
I've always been told it's Public Hall, but
Public Hall.
Whatever gets the people in the building, we'll go with
They're back at Public Hall. It's right downtown off Lake, Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. tip-off on Friday. We'll be there. Coach, best of luck against Detroit. Best of luck on Friday in your home opener. Best of luck the rest of the season. We can't wait to have you back on here soon. Thanks again, Coach.
Thank you so much for having us.
That was Eli Kell-Abrams, the new head coach of the Cleveland Charge. Guys, we're talking way more Cavaliers basketball on UCSS coming up here in just over 2.5 hours. We appreciate you tuning into an episode of the Ultimate Cavaliers Show this morning, and we are back on Wednesday, potentially for a little post-game Heat Cavs matchup. So stay tuned for that. For Coach Eli, I'm Mike. Go Cavs.